When the Conservative supporting newspapers use expressions such as confusion and U-churn, that's the Express and the Sun respectively, then you know that probably the coalition government had a bit of a tough time of it yesterday. This was the idea for scrapping free school milk for under fives. The idea being perhaps worth around £60 million in cuts. Unfortunately, it unravelled really rather quickly. This was during a television appearance by David Millets, Universities Minister David Millets, who, and I mean, let's be favourable here, shall we use the word floundering, as he was grilled on a BBC show. This is Willets in action.
While we've been on air, I have to say that Downing Street has put out a statement saying that this idea of scrapping free milk for the under fives will not now go ahead. It's been overruled by Downing Street. Some confusion in government over this?
Well, we have to look at a whole range of options, and as options are looked at, of course, they have to be assessed on their merits. But the fact is that when we come, at the end of the day, to announce our public expenditure decisions in the autumn, I think people will see that we've managed to combine progressive values and also the necessary reductions in public expenditure.
Here's a question for you, though, at 7 minutes after. Undoubtedly, it was embarrassing for him. Clearly, they hadn't got everything worked out. How worried would you be if they did stop milk for under fives? It saves perhaps £60 million. Why should you and I have to pay for milk for these children? Doesn't it actually start almost literally from the cradle, this idea that the state will look after you from cradle to the grave? If every day they go to school they're there, then the state's provided this little bottle of milk, presumably with a silver top on it, if it still works like that. Would it be so bad? Take your views in just a second. Let's speak to somebody who's on the front line of this. Paul Jordan is a head teacher at a school in East London. How important is this milk in your view, Mr. Jordan?
Someone said to me when I first started in education, the only thing that remains constant is the ability to embrace change, because there is so much change in education.
Yeah.
My nursery children receive milk. I think it's important.
Why should I have to pay for it on my taxes?
Well, that's a good point. For me, it's about them learning how to make healthy choices. They have a piece of food too. I'd really look at trying to sustain that, even if that money was dropped. I think the issue is really, the bigger picture, stepping back from this, is that it's this sudden U-turn, really, that kind of worries me.
Right.
And I just wonder whether...
You talk about the government U-turn.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. And I wonder whether the government really is trying to save too much money over a too short a period. And it's really going to be the challenges for us as head teachers and for schools about really how we continue the same provision during this period of austerity, really.
What are your concerns about the challenges you'll have to face?
Well, I really would be looking for maybe a wholehearted review on how money can be saved and the implications for learning. For example, my ICT budget's been cut. I know building schools for the future has been stopped. The more resources are cut, the harder it would be for us, really. That would be the challenge, won't it?
Yes.
With the resources that we've got, to orchestrate the best provision for them in the long term and to sustain that.
Some would argue, and I'd be interested in your response, that because of the way the country is financially, we've all got to work hard and we've all got to cut our, whatever it may mean, cut our cloth accordingly.
Absolutely, and I think what I'd advocate is a wholehearted review of where those cuts can be made, the time frame for that, so that I've got a chance to prepare accordingly and adapt accordingly. The more notice I've got, the better for me, really, I guess.
You mentioned your children also have a piece of fruit at break time. Is that provided by the state, or do they...
Yes, my school's part of the National Fruit and Veg scheme, so rather than the under fives, all children in my infant school at Thames receive a piece of fruit. So, it is a period of austerity. I could imagine that might eventually go too.
Can I just ask, what would be so bad with children bringing in their own banana?
There's lots of issues there, isn't there, really?
I'm sorry to be so confrontational. No,
No, not at all.
I don't think there are. You just tell the child that they bring in their own apple, and it saves £60 million.
That's one way of looking at it.
Okay.
It's about it provides every child in my school the opportunity of encountering a new piece of fruit. I know that sounds silly to us as adults, you know, but they have things like tomatoes, they have little cucumbers, strawberries. It's a way of giving them a whole different food choices, things that they might not encounter every day.
All right. Well, credit to you, and good luck. Enjoy your break, although I'm sure you'll be going back, well, certainly ahead of the pupils, probably ahead of most of the teachers as well, to get ready. Paul Jordan is a head teacher at Thames School in East London. 13 after 8 if you're going out to catch your train or bus or plane, whatever it might be. Well, how important is milk anyway? And then I think I've probably nailed my colours to the mast. I would stop the milk now. And I know this goes back to, was it 71? Certainly 1970s. Mrs. Thatcher, the famous Thatcher, yes it was 71, Thatcher the milk snatcher, when she ended free milk for over sevens. And she subsequently wrote in a book, it was fascinating, she said that it was actually probably she suffered some of the biggest political pain for some of the least financial gain in taking that milk away. So even she questioned the wisdom of it all. But you know what? Because I think the world has moved on now, and because I think everybody now, there is a sense that the minute you're born, the state will look after you. From cradle to grave. I know I've used it a couple of times. Actually, let's stop it now. No free milk. Go and buy your own milk and go and buy your own apple. I can't see the problem. Imogen Spencer is a dietary advisor. I presume you're furious with that idea, are you, Ms. Spencer?
Well, not so much furious. Just, I think that the whole attitude doesn't incorporate the fact that, you know, some people are living on the breadline and that, you know, it's the children who will suffer. It's saying who cares about children, basically.
Well, I do. And it's a good example, then, that they can go and work and then they can pay for their own oranges.
What, the children?
Well, no, then they will see, when they're at school, that when they then get out into, where does it end? They'd probably all like iPods. Does that mean that the state's going to provide them? Where do we end giving these things, then?
iPods and milk and fruit really have nothing to do with each other. I'm talking here
Laptops.
About the basic...
Better give every child a laptop.
Okay, I'm not talking... That's actually irrelevant to what we're talking about. We're talking about free milk.
Go ahead.
And basically, we're talking about... If we're talking about the importance of it, we're talking about if there are some children who are actually likely to be suffering from malnutrition.
What does milk give a child? What does it provide for a child?
Well, it provides some basic calories, some calcium, and some basic nutrition. It's a very basic food,
right,
which helps young children to grow and helps young children to thrive. But it's not really just the milk. It's the fact that what we've got to consider is that with cuts at every corner, the worst off families, or the worst, type of parent, if you want to be judgmental, may leave a child literally going to school without basic nutrition. And things like free milk help to prevent that from happening. You could have a child starving before your eyes because their parents are alcoholic and, spent the money on...
But surely in those cases social services would probably intervene, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they probably would eventually. How much would the child suffer before that happened?
Good speaking with you. Let's hope we speak with you again soon. Imogen Spencer, a dietary advisor. Right, your reactions follow this.